Hello and welcome to a new episode of our program Arab Affairs. I'm Yasmin Bakir and I'm filling in this week for my colleague Monam Silhi, and as usual in this episode we discuss two different topics. The first topic that we'll be discussing in this episode this week is the Egyptian-Jordanian relations, and for several stances both Egypt and Jordan have had common grounds, especially when it comes to the Palestinian conflict and the Middle East region as well. So we're going to indulge more about the Egyptian-Jordanian relations in the first half. The second half we'll be talking about the latest updates concerning Saudi Arabia and Iran. Now, it has been for long a conflict and grudges taking place between Iran and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, different statements and threats that has been pressed out during the different forms of media. But what's new here is that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Iran are willing to sit for negotiations at a meeting that will be expected to be held sometime this month in Baghdad. Now, will that be able to reach some form of reconciliation between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Iran and release the threats and the grudges between both countries that has been for long on stance? We will also be joined over the phone by Ambassador Hussein Haridi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, to shed light on the latest updates and his analysis and in-depth concerning both topics. But as usual, let's take a look at the main headlines and what has been going on in the Arab world during the past week, and we'll be right back.
Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry discussed with the United Nations Middle East Peace Envoy Tor Wendelland the latest developments of the Palestinian cause and means to push forward stalled negotiations. Foreign Ministry spokesman Ambassador Ahmed Hafiz said that the top diplomat reviewed Egypt's vision regarding the best ways to resume talks in accordance with the international laws and resolutions. In this respect, Shoukry reviewed Egypt's efforts with Jordan, France and Germany within the framework of the Munich Formula, as well as its keenness to narrow gaps between the Palestinian and Israeli sides to build confidence measures. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on Friday postponed planned parliamentary elections amid a dispute over voting in Israeli-annexed East Jerusalem. Abbas blamed Israel for uncertainty about whether it would allow the legislative elections to proceed in Jerusalem as well as in the occupied West Bank and Gaza. The United States on Wednesday voiced disagreement with Human Rights Watch's allegations that Israel is committing apartheid against the Palestinians, but said it was committed to condemning abuses. American President Joe Biden's State Department, however, said that it would not offer public evaluations of reports by outside groups, a shift from Donald Trump's administration, which loudly berated advocacy groups that criticized ally Israel. The spokesperson renewed a call on both Israel and the Palestinians to refrain from unilateral actions that exacerbate tensions, including settlement activity and incitement to violence. The International Rescue Committee, IRC, warned on Thursday that the Kurdish-ruled region of northeastern Syria will run out of COVID-19 testing equipment in a week. The area has witnessed a surge in cases in recent weeks, and the health crisis it faces will be made worse if testing stops. The IRC said that the semi-autonomous region's only COVID laboratory, located in the city of Qamishli, could be forced to stop COVID testing in less than 7 days due to a critical shortage of kits. U.S. Special Envoy for Yemen, Tim Linder-King, will travel to Saudi Arabia and Oman for talks with the government officials about efforts to end Yemen's civil war. Linder-King's discussions would focus on ensuring the delivery of commodities and humanitarian assistance throughout Yemen, promoting lasting ceasefire and transitioning the parties to a political process. The civil war has created what the United Nations calls the worst humanitarian crisis, with some 80% of the country's population of 29 million requiring aid and 13 million facing starvation. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi mourned Jordanian Prince Mohammed bin Talal bin Al Hussein, who passed away on Thursday. Prince Mohammed bin Talal bin Al Hussein, personal representative of Jordanian king, a wise national symbol who gave his life to serve his country for decades, during which he contributed to achieving prosperity and stability for his country. President Sisi, in his name and in the name of Egypt, expressed condolences to the brotherly Jordanian people and the royal family, calling upon God Almighty to embrace the late prince with mercy and to inspire his family with patience and solace. Egypt and Jordan enjoy a tight relation and are ongoing consultation on various domains. President Sisi had reiterated Egypt's full support to Jordan and all the latest decisions taken by His Majesty King Abdullah II, which aimed at maintaining the stability and security of the kingdom. At the start of this month, President Sisi delivered a speech on the kingdom's 100th anniversary of the Jordanian kingdom. Marking the occasion, President Sisi congratulated the Jordanian king and stressed that this occasion represented a good opportunity to enhance bilateral ties and their efforts to bolster the joint Arab action. President Sisi referred to the pivotal role played by Jordan to consolidate Arab and Islamic issues as well as its stances towards Egypt.
Welcome back again. You're still watching us here at the Arab Affairs program, and as I've mentioned earlier, the first part of, or the first half of this episode, we will be talking about the Egyptian-Jordanian relations. We are very much delighted to have joining us over the phone His Excellency Ambassador Hussein Haridi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us, Your Excellency.
It's my pleasure, madam.
Now, we've seen the President mourning Saudi King for the loss of his uncle, Prince Talal and bin Hussein, and also on the other hand, Jordan's been celebrating the anniversary of 100 years of independence, and through these two different forms of communication between both leaders, what can this give us in terms of an indication on the strength of the relations between Egypt and Jordan?
I guess in the last few years, Egyptian-Jordanian relations have witnessed a great strides in all fields, whether at the level of regular contacts and regular visits between President Sisi and Jordanian monarch King Abdullah II, or on the ministerial level. On the other hand, coordination and cooperation between the two countries in terms of their bilateral relations and in terms of the Palestinian question has really seen meetings and committees lately. And on the other hand, Egypt and Jordan are members in a new trilateral mechanism of cooperation with Iraq. And there is a summit for the three leaders of Egypt, Jordan, and Iraq scheduled to take place in Baghdad. It was supposed to take place a couple of weeks ago, but due to various reasons, it was agreed to postpone. So I guess Jordanian and Egyptian relations are excellent right now, and we hope that in the future their cooperation, their coordination would really help the Mashriq al-Arabi deal with a host of problems and crises that we've been suffering from in the last decade.
Yes, Your Excellency, you've mentioned a number of important points. Allow us to focus on a few of them. And I'd like to start with talking about the tripartite cooperation between Iraq, Jordan and Egypt, because there have been several meetings that have been taking place for the past couple of years in this regard. And it's not just on an economic level, but it's also on a security level. Let's talk here about the achievements that this tripartite had managed to reached so far, and how has that changed the face of the region, especially a region that is full of turbulences, economic crises, and security situation, as well as the pandemic lately?
Well, of course, as you may know, Madam, there have been several summits for this cooperation mechanism between the three countries. There were regular meetings on the foreign ministerial level. The foreign ministers of the three countries met on various occasions, and the seeds of cooperation in this mechanism are concentrated on various specific areas, mainly transport, energy, water, resources, and reconstruction. So I guess some agreements have been signed in this respect, and I guess that in the very near future we are likely to see the implementation of some of these agreements. The next summit would be determining in pushing ahead with the implementation process.
Yes. Your Excellency, both Egypt and the Kingdom of Jordan has very strong relations with the international community, and that is being reflected very clearly on various occasions and international meetings. If we're going to talk about how the international community will be able to support the region through the help of Egypt and Jordan with regard to the Palestinian question, for instance, to the situation in Libya, even the GERD issue in Ethiopia?
Well, I guess we have to concentrate on our own efforts to push ahead, to try to realize our ambitions, to bring peace and security and prosperity to this part of the world. Of course, we know where the international community stands on many issues that we have been dealing with in the last decade, particularly from 2011 till today. But it is incumbent on the Arab countries themselves to tackle these crises. One of the failures in the last decade was that, or has been that the Arab countries have let foreign powers intervene in dealing with Arab crises. So the motto or the slogan should be Arab solutions for Arab problems and Arab questions. You have referred to the international community. The international community, embodied by the Security Council, has passed some resolutions concerning Libya, concerning Syria, concerning Yemen. But it's us, the Arabs, the Arab countries, who are called upon to help in implementing these resolutions. Today, the world is facing the COVID-19 pandemic, and given the human tragedy that we are witnessing in India these days and in Brazil, I guess the international community is now focusing on how to meet the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. And plus, of course, there is a new American administration, the strategic priorities of which have changed, And so let's hope, Madam, that the Arab countries would meet in a summit soon. And you may recall that from 2019 till today, the Arab Summit the regular Arab Summit has not been convened. So what we hope for, or what I hope for on a personal level, is the Arab heads of state get together, make up their minds how they look at the future, what's their role in shaping this future of the Arab world, and what each Arab country can do to try to change the status quo for the better.
Yes, of course.
For the better. It all depends on Arab will, and it all depends on Arab capacities to change the status quo.
Very well. Ambassador Hussein Haridi, if you kindly stay with us over the phone, because we will also be switching to another topic for this episode, and the Iranian Saudi Arabia file. And for long there has been a crisis and escalation, whether there are in statements or so, concerning the Iranian Saudi file. However, recently it seems to be that this conflict will be willing to go for a reconciliation process under the sponsorship of Baghdad. Will this be able to reach to some sort of compromise and calm the waters between Saudi Arabia and Iran or not? And what are the points of conflict, and what can be done in order for both countries to regain trust with each other again? We'll be taking a look at this report, and when we return back, we will be continuing with our guest over the phone, His Excellency Ambassador Hussein Haridi.
Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince has taken a more conciliatory public stance towards Iran, trying to balance long-held animosity with economic considerations and bridge differences with Washington over how to tackle Tehran's regional behavior. While reiterating that Riyadh has a problem with Iran's negative behavior, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said in an interview aired late on Tuesday that Saudi Arabia wanted a good relationship with Iran. He said that they do not want war for Iran to be in a difficult situation. On the contrary, they want Iran to prosper and grow, adding that Saudi Arabia has interests in Iran and Tehran has interests in the kingdom. Saudi and Iranian officials held direct talks this month, 6 years after cutting diplomatic ties. The kingdom has urged global powers trying to bring both the United States and Iran back into full compliance with the nuclear pact to reach a stronger agreement of longer duration in talks in Vienna. Saudi and Iranian officials plan further direct talks this month, though no date has yet been set, with the aim of easing tensions between the arch-rivals in a significant move for regional stability. Neither Riyadh nor Tehran, who cut diplomatic ties in 2016, have publicly confirmed or denied a first meeting in Iraq earlier this month. The Iranian envoy to Baghdad has welcomed Iraqi mediation to mend ties with the Gulf states.
Welcome back again. You're still watching us here on Arab Affairs, and I'm still joined over the phone by His Excellency Ambassador Hussein Haridi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Your Excellency, now the Iranian-Saudi Arabia file has also been of concern not only to the Middle East and the Arab region, but also to the international community, as we've mentioned earlier. Now with the fact that there could be a reconciliation taking place if both sides attend the sponsor talks in Baghdad this month, what would that be able to reach between some sort of compromise between both countries?
Well, to start with, diplomatic relations have been severed between Saudi Arabia and Iran early 2016. So the first thing is that they agree, both countries agree to restore diplomatic relations. Once they make this decision, that would be a sign that what I call the strategic fatigue of the two countries, of the open-ended confrontation between them, has come to an end. And they have come to the conclusion that the use of force will not help either of them, or will help the Arab or the Muslim world settle its conflicts and its problems.
Mm-hmm.
So we welcome, of course, the statements coming out of Riyadh and of Tehran, official statements, to the effect that both countries are looking forward to open a new chapter in their bilateral relations.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It will be good for them, and it will be good for the Arabs and for the Muslim world. Of course, I doubt very much that this open-ended confrontation that has existed between the two countries from some time now, and came to a crux in Yemen in the last 6 years, has solved anything. On the contrary, both countries have lost financially, and there is no end in sight in the continuation of the use of force. So we are glad, if I can use this term in the context of our discussion. We are glad that the two countries, Saudi Arabia and Iraq, are willing to open this new chapter in their relations, to live in peace and security, and not to intervene in the domestic affairs of one another. On the other hand, this so-called confrontation between the Sunni and the Shia worlds of Islam should come to an end, because really it's nothing but nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the Arabs and the Muslims everywhere would benefit from a reconciliation, a long-awaited and long-hoped-for reconciliation between Saudi Arabia and Iran. It will be good for their own people, and it will be good for other people in the region too.
Yes. Now, while Your Excellency have correctly said that reconciliation is like a dream that should come true very soon, especially with regard that at the end of the day it's not just a political matter, but it's more of a religious ethnic matter, and as if you kindly rightly have said, the Shiite and Sunni conflict. The fact is that with all these years there have been several other countries that have had joint interests, whether it's with the countries that are backing the Sunnis, or Saudi Arabia, or countries that are backing Iran and the Shiites. And it's not just in Yemen and the Iran-backed Houthis, but it's also in Lebanon, for instance, and Hezbollah-backed as well by Iran. So these changes that have happened in the region and the world in terms of the world new order and how politics have changed its face, how will that be able to change in terms of reconciliation if that meeting in Baghdad is successful, now that there's so many parties that are involved and have turned themselves into teams, for instance? How is that going to be broken out, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I guess the whole process of reconciliation depends mainly on the political will of both Tehran and Riyadh. If there are third parties that are willing to help in the bringing about this reconciliation, then this is welcome, but this is not the main issue. The main issue, whether the two countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia, are seriously working towards a reconciliation. Mm-hmm. Of course, this reconciliation attempt, or this reconciliation spirit, let me put it this way, comes within the context of regional and international changes. Mm-hmm. that refer to that the international system, if it has endured or accepted or coexisted or lived with Iranian-Saudi confrontation in the past. This system is now changing, and this confrontation between two main powers in the region should come to an end. We've been following the negotiations taking place in Vienna in order for both the United States and Iran to rejoin the joint the joint comprehensive plan of action, which is the Iran nuclear deal. And it's obvious that the new American administration, while it has so far kept all the sanctions that the previous American administration have imposed on Iran, but it has shown a willingness to bring to an end this maximum pressure strategy that was adopted by the Trump administration back in 2018. On the other hand, the Arab countries, where the indirect confrontation between these two powers had been taking place, are really paying a costly price for such a situation. So, and you have referred to Lebanon and to Hezbollah. Of course, now Lebanon is in a very, very, very dire situation. Almost half of the Lebanese population are living under poverty lines. And if the situation in Lebanon is not resolved, Lebanon could, and I say could, become the next powder keg in the Middle East. So it's in the interest of both Saudi Arabia and Iran, and the interest of all Arab countries, that this confrontation between the two countries, whether on the bilateral level or whether in several other areas in the Middle East, it's in our interest that this confrontation should come to an end. We cannot, the system, the Arab system, nor the regional system, cannot sustain the status quo for long, because it's the people of the region who are paying the price now.
Yes, my final question to Your Excellency is that while it's no secret that Iran has issues with the entire world, and whether it's because of its nuclear program or because of the extended arms that it has in different countries around the world, we've seen the United Nations have been imposing sanctions, and we've seen the United States also reconsidering the agreement deal in 2015. Meanwhile, there are certain countries around the world who have a very neutral stance concerning the Iranian file. Can they be playing a role of a mediator in the upcoming period to put Iran into its right context and position, and also be able to reach some kind of compromise, whether it's with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or even as a mediator between Iran and the United States in the upcoming period? What's your opinion?
Well, the starting point in dealing with this major issue is that the admission that Iran is a regional power. A regional power that it has its own vision, it has its own policies, and if we as Arabs want to meet or want to handle this regional power, we have to be, first of all, far-sighted, and we have to deal with our own problems on the basis of Arab solutions to Arab problems. The fact that during the last 20 years, the Arabs have let other powers, be it Iran or Turkey or other outside powers, to intervene in our Arab affairs, really has compounded the situation. So, but and the Arab countries have to come up with an approach an Arab approach to how to deal with Iran in the future. But having said that, many countries around the world are having good relations with Iran. We have seen in the last couple of months a major agreement, a strategic accord signed between Iran and China. Mm-hmm. Russia is a friend to Iran, and as a matter of fact, Russia, Iran, and Turkey have formed what is called the Astana process, and this is the main mechanism that has brought ceasefire and,
yes.
and peace in Syria. So, this idea that we are going to put Iran aside is a non-starter.
Of course.
The question for the Arabs is how to deal with Iran in a changing world order.
Yes, of course, and how to deal with Iran is still going to always be a raising question that we'll be discussing until reconciliation actually takes place between Iran and the rest of the world, basically. Your Excellency, Ambassador Hussein Haridi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, would like to thank you very much for joining us on Arab Affairs episode this week. And this brings us to the end of our episode of Arab Affairs. Once again, I'm Yasmin Bakir. I was filling in for my colleague Monam Silhi. Thank you very much for watching.